welcome to Stan the Wine Man TV. I am your host, Stan Rattan, and this is the Blue Collar Wine Show where I help you spend your wine dollars wisely. It's been about a week and a half since I put an episode out there. Sorry about that. We had almost a foot of snow out here. Things kind of got crazy, to say the least. So we're back at it. This is going up Friday, and you can see it's a blind tasting episode, and the subject is Cabernet Franc. What got me started on this is I bought some Cab Franc from Oregon, Southern Oregon, and it's just kind of been sitting there at the store. Beautiful Cab Franc. And I thought, you know, why don't I do an episode comparing Southern Oregon, Washington, the Loire Valley, and California. So that's what we got. We have a Cab Franc from each of those areas. We're going to taste them blind and see which one comes out on top. So let's get started right away. Cab Franc is one of my personal favorite varietals. I love it. It is the parent, one of the parents of Cabernet Sauvignon. Cabernet Sauvignon is a cross of Cabernet Franc and Sauvignon Blanc. And actually Cab Franc really got it started in Bordeaux, where they blended it. It was a blending grape. And then it took off in the Loire Valley. Of course, it was grown in the Loire Valley, where it's known to be a little more vegetal. And people that have tried Cab Franc from that area may have been turned off by it, because if you don't like tossed salad in your wine, you're probably not going to like Cab Franc from the Loire Valley. Although I have to say, in recent times, I've tasted a few Cab Franc that had a little bit of a kind of a new world sort of angle to them. But they tend to be a little bit more herbaceous than Cab Francs from Washington, Cab Francs from California, or Cab Francs from Oregon. But that is one of the characteristics of a Cabernet Franc, is they tend to have a little bit of a vegetal element to them. And so we're going to see how these go. So number one, let's see what we get on the nose. So I get a little bit of a plum and cherry with a little bit of candied blackberry. Just slightly challenged on the nose, I'd have to say. I even get a little red flower component coming through. Let's see what we get on the palate. Well, I definitely get the plums and cherries. Good acidity. This has a mouth-watering acidity. Gives it a nice bright lift on the palate. Good structure. A lot of red flowers on the back end. And then right at the very back end of the finish, I get a little bit of licorice coming through. I don't get any really herbaceousness to this, mostly acidity. And I'm not going to make it up. I don't get any vegetal at all on this anyway. So if you don't like Loire Valley Cab Franc, you'll probably like this one. I'm saying this is New World for sure. Well, I don't have very many choices. I think 3 of them are New World. 1 is Old World. But good structure, soft tannins, good acidity. I get a lot of a red cherry, blackberry, a little bit of plum. Well, actually quite a bit of plum. The candied element that I got on the nose doesn't really hit too much on the palate, and that's probably from the acidity. I get a little it seems like a carbonic maceration sort of thing, but I know it probably doesn't have that. This is not super complex. It's good. I would give it an 8 in the delicious category. It has good structure. I like the acidity. Makes it a really good food wine. This would definitely be good with hamburgers or pizza or stews or anything like that. Let's see here. Where am I going to put this? Not bad, just not great. So let's go put that over there. Let's move on to number 2. Funny, just before I shot this episode, we were trying to put a pen together for Susie, and we lost a spring. We spent a half hour looking for the stupid spring, and it turned out right in front of our faces. Number 2. Better color, I mean, definitely darker than the last one. Thanks for all the input you guys have given me on these blind episodes. I think you guys like them. I know I like doing them. It's always nice to be surprised. I have no idea. Susie bagged these up. I don't know what order they're in. Number 2. Good color on this one. A lot darker than the last one. I didn't show you the color on the last one. Definitely a lot darker. Let's see what we get on the nose. Now there, right off the bat, green bell pepper. Actually, kind of, the first thing that came to my mind is nettles. I remember being around nettles, and this reminds me of nettles on the nose, and green bell pepper. A little bit of bark coming through. So this is classic Cab Franc nose. A little bit of tobacco, and in the backdrop, there's a little bit of a chocolate note coming through, as well as, I'm going to say blackberry, but definitely those characteristics of bark, nettles, green bell pepper all come through on this one. Very savory on the nose. Let's see what we get on the palate. Again, no vegetal on the palate. Maybe right at the back end I get just a little bit of a pyrazine element coming through. But this has more fruit to it. It's more complexity. I get a little bit of blackberry coming through, a little bit of cherry notes. Very light tannins again, not much on the tannin side. Okay, right on the top of the mid palate, I get a hit of that blackberry stem, blackberry leaf, no green bell pepper. Get a nice red flower component that goes from the mid palate into the finish. See, either one of these, I think if you wanted to introduce yourself to Cab Franc, I think these are both good starter Cab Francs. Not super complex. Number 2 is definitely more complex than number 1. It's showing more. It has a longer finish. I get a lot of red flower and cherry notes that hang around on the back end. I get a little like a soap element, almost like not soapy, but it reminds me of like a cherry flavored soap maybe. And what I like about this one is it shows that Cab Franc characteristic of that pyrazine kind of green vegetal thing on the mid palate, but it's not dominant. It's enough to say, hey, this is what a Cab Franc should be about. You know, this is what we're talking about when we say Cab Franc. I think that's a new world. I think the first 2 are new world for sure. I'm excited to see when the Loire Valley Cab Franc comes through. Okay, now this is lighter than number 2. This reminds me of number 1 in the color. I'll show you in a second here. I know I don't spend enough time on color. I probably should. It's always cool to kind of see the different colors that these wines show. So number 3. It's kind of tricky when you do 4 of them. So there's a color. I don't know if you noticed the last one. This one's a little bit lighter. Still has a good color though. Oh, all over the place with salad, asparagus, green bell pepper. This has a little funk on the nose. Definitely pyrazine all over the place. Parazines is a fancy word for vegetal, just so you know. A little bit of tobacco coming through. This one also has a little chocolate note coming through underneath that vegetal thing that's going on. Not super aromatic, but I don't expect Cab Franc necessarily to be super aromatic. So let's see what we get on the palate. This is like throwing a little bit of blackberries and cherries in a pile of veggies, mashing them all up. This is veggie all the way. Vegetal, a little bit of fruit coming through. This has more tannins to it for sure. It's definitely got a little grip on the backside. Good acidity. This thing begs for food. I would not drink this all by itself. Those two I might. This one, no way. It definitely needs food. I could see this with lamb all day. This has to be, in my opinion, the Loire Valley Cab Franc. I could be wrong. But just by the flavors, you get a little bit of earth coming through, a little bit of dirt action, tobacco, bark, and veggies. This is not for the weak of heart. This is not for the dude that's looking for a fruit bomb. This is not somebody who enjoys a blend. This is all about old world. I could be wrong, but I hope I'm not. I don't think I am. This is what Cab Franc is like in the Loire Valley. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not for everybody. That's the cool thing about wine. You can't judge a wine by your preference. If I did that, I would flunk this wine today because this is not what I'm in the mood for. But this is a well-made wine. It has all the characteristics that you expect from a Cab Franc. You understand why they blend this grape. It adds different dimensions to a wine. And when you blend it with Cab, Merlot, and Petit Verdot, the veggie goes away and it adds that different characteristics. It has a lot of red flowers, a lot of veggie, a lot of earth, very little fruit. If anything, I get a little cranberry on the backside or underripe cherries. Doesn't make it a bad wine, just makes it a different style of Cab Franc. Good complexity, good acidity, great food wine. Like I said, I'd have that with lamb, I'd have it with ham, I'd have it with venison, would be really good. Let's move on. Number 4. Number 4. The thing, too, about these wines, and you got to be careful, and this is where kind of wine snobbery comes into play, is some people, oh, good color, see now, this is darker than the other one. I should get a piece of white paper, but I think you can tell. A little bit darker than that one. And let's see what we get on the nose. See, some people think they have to like a wine. Like, does it make you cool if you like a wine that's in high acidity or very vegetal? No. If you don't like it, you don't like it. But you have to judge a wine by how it's made. And that's what I do. And I also try to guide people to the wines that they like and what's good for their palate. So, that's really what wine's all about. And don't ever like a wine because somebody tells you don't be intimidated. Trust your palate. If you don't like the Loire Valley Cab Franc, you don't like that vegetal side, then don't drink it. Just because your wine friends all say, oh, this Cab is so great, awesome, you gotta like it. Don't be intimidated. If you don't like it, just say so. I don't like it. Or if you don't want to say so, just get out of there. So, you know, don't like something just because a bunch of wine geeks like it. Like what you like. Let's see what we get on those. Number 4. Number 4. Number 4. There you go. Man, this has chocolate all day. Makes me feel confident about number 3 being Loire Valley. I get chocolate, I get tobacco, I get a little bit of bark, beauty bark. I get dark cherries on this one. Definitely dark ripe cherries on the nose. Yeah, let's see what we get on the palate. Very interesting. Now this is a fruit-forward Cab Franc, for sure. I know a lot of you will love this wine. It's a solid effort, not what I expect out of a Cab Franc. It doesn't even show any what I would consider typicity of Cab Franc. Lots of chocolate, tobacco, dark cherries. I even get a little caramel element in there. Now, don't get me wrong, I like this wine a lot. It just does not represent what I would consider Cab Franc to be. Right at the backside, thank God, right at the backside, just a little bit of green bell pepper, just a little bit of asparagus coming through. Barely, but it's there, and a little white and black pepper notes that come through. I like this wine. It's definitely bigger than all the other 3. It's got, it's incredibly delicious. This is a dangerous Cab Franc, and if you wanted to start with Cab Franc, this would be my numero uno one to go to of these 4, just because, sorry, just because if you're used to the blends and you're used to the New World stuff, this is a good way to be introduced to Cab Franc. Yeah, it's starting to show a little bit as it opens up. Now these have only been open for about an hour, but it's starting to show more of that Cab Franc characteristic, which makes me happy. Good tobacco notes on the backside. I like the pepperish thing that comes through, and I like that kind of, the vegetal stuff is well integrated into the wine, good complexity, solid effort. I'm just going to guess this is the Washington, just because I love the Cab Franc from Washington State. I think Washington State Cab Franc is some of the best I've tasted. I just think it's a good introductory wine. And it does show different things than a Loire, way different than a Loire Valley Cab Franc does. Even a little bit of a funkiness on the backside. It's lingering on the finish quite a bit. All right, let's see how these turned out. Okay, in first place, number 4. I think you got the impression right there. Let's see then. Second is number 3. Third was number 2, and number 1 came in last. Okay, cool. That's almost like exact opposite way I had them lined up. Very interesting. Okay. Number 1 came in last place with a C+. I thought it just lacked complexity. I thought it was good. I thought it would be a good starter to Cab Franc. Let's see what we got. Oh. Okay, this is the 2016 Field Recordings Cabernet Franc, and it rolls in at $19. So, you know, 19 bucks, yeah, I don't know. Save your money on that one. It was okay, didn't lack complexity. I thought it was good. I just didn't show too much going on. Okay, in third place, with a C plus B minus, is number 2. This is the Leah Jorgensen Cellars Cabernet Franc, Southern Oregon, 2016, and this rolls in at $27. So there you go, a little disappointed in the price. But this had better color, remember, it was a little more complex. I liked it. It showed more of that Cab Franc characteristic than number 1, but still really good wine. $27, yeah, I mean, it's okay. I mean, I would definitely give it a try. I've liked it in the past, and this was actually the one that got me thinking about doing a Cab Franc episode. So there you go. In second place with a B minus, number 3, and this is one I thought was probably the southern, the Loire Valley. There you go. I was right. Marie de Beauregard from Saget-les-Pierres, Chinon. So Chinon, 2016. Chinon is Cabernet Franc. And there you go. Now, I don't think this is for everybody, but it rolls in at 17 bucks. But if you really want to find out what Loire Valley Cab Franc is about, and you're very curious, and you want to see what I'm talking about with that vegetal thing, 17 bucks, it's worth experimenting with. Maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't, but you'll never find out unless you try. In first place, number 4, with a straight up B+, I said it was from Washington, and I was right. This is the 2013 Gamache Vineyards Cabernet Franc, Columbia Valley. And this rolls in at $25. There you go. Now, 25 bones, you know, not cheap, but I think a lot of you that buy Cabernet Sauvignon that are kind of have more fruit to them, you don't even bat an eye. A lot of people don't even bat an eye at spending that much money on a cab or a blend. So if you want to try a really good Cab Franc, Gamache, Vintners, Cab Franc, I think that does a trick. And I think it's also from the 13 vintage, which is one of my favorite vintages. So there you go. Hope you like the blind format. I was as surprised at the results as you were. In the field recordings in the past, I've really liked. It could be just this vintage. You keep watching. Before I start, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Hit the subscribe button. Hook up with me on Instagram at Stan the Wine Man and Twitter, Stan the Wine Man. You keep watching, and I'll keep helping you spend your wine dollars wisely.